Welcome to the online verification tutorial for the Issaquah School District. This video will cover the EVP, BTSCI, and RSVP processes that families need to complete in Family Access during the month of August in preparation for the upcoming school year. Please remember that if your student has more than one family, only the primary family can complete this process. The first step is to sign into your Family Access account. If you do not remember your login ID or password, please click on the Forgot Your Login/Password link to reset your password. If you still do not have access, it could be because your student is not currently active in Skyward. Please contact your student's school for assistance. First of all, when you log into Family Access, if English is not your preferred language, you have the option to change the language at the top of the screen using Google Translate. This will translate the whole verification process for you, including the forms. If you are doing this process in a language other than English, make sure that you type your answers in English so that the schools can read your information. On the message wall, you will see that the verification process is now open. If you have more than one student, you will need to complete this process for each of your students. For this video, we will be going through the process of a high school student. Each school may be slightly different, so we will be covering the different types of pages you will encounter during this process. Click on the link to begin the process. The first page of the online verification process explains the full process. This process has some changes this year, so please read it carefully. Once you have finished, click on the Next button. The first step is confirming enrollment. Please read the instructions carefully and then select yes or no as to whether or not your student will be attending the school listed at the top of the screen for the upcoming school year. Then click on the button at the bottom of the page that says Complete Step 1 and Move to Step 2 to save your progress. If you click the Next Step button at the right side of the screen, the info entered on this screen will not be saved. The next step is verifying the phone numbers for Family 1. If you have had any changes to your phone numbers, you can make those changes here. The primary phone number will be the first number contacted for this family, and it is required that all families have a primary phone number. If you would like to opt in to receive text notifications from the district, please type the word "cell" into the extension box to the right of the cell phone number. Any changes made to this section will be pending the approval of the registrar at your student's school. When you are finished making changes, click on Complete Step 2A and move to Step 2B. Here you can update your student's emergency contacts. You have the option to change the relationship and pickup status, delete an emergency contact, change the order they will be contacted in, or add a new emergency contact. If you do not see the option to add a new emergency contact, it is because your student has more than 6 contacts, which is the new maximum limit. Please note that if your student has a second family, the people in that family should not be added as emergency contacts. To add a new emergency contact, click on Add Emergency Contact. Enter all the required information on this screen and click Save. You will now see the new emergency contact in bold at the bottom of your list. This person is pending the approval of the registrar at your student's school because there are a few additional steps they need to do to add a new person to Skyward. You can finish the verification process with this information still pending. Emergency contacts will be contacted in the order that you see here. You can change the order by clicking on Change Emergency Contact Order. By using the up and down arrows, you can change the order of your student's emergency contacts. When you are finished, click Save. When you are done with this step, click on Complete Step 2B and move to Step 3 and continue with the process. This year we have added all the required annual forms to this process to be filled out digitally, which removes the necessity to print out these forms and turn them into your student's school. Please note that these forms cannot be filled out through the Skyward app, but they can be filled out on a mobile device by logging into Family Access through a browser. To fill out these forms, click on the button at the top of the form that says View Full Screen to get a better look. To help expedite this process for families, we have pulled demographic information from Skyward into these forms already, but you do have the option to edit these fields if needed. All fields in blue, such as the student's name, date of birth, and grade, cannot be edited as that information needs to match what we have in Skyward. Fill out the information on these forms, making sure to enter data into any field that says required next to it. Any demographic information, parent information, and emergency contact information will be pulled into these forms from Skyward, but you can change that information if necessary. If your student has a second family, you can enter them as an emergency contact on these forms since their information is not on these forms otherwise. Then type your name into the signature field and enter the current date. If you would like to download a copy of this form for your own records, you can do so by clicking the Print button. When you have finished the form, click the button at the top of the page to complete this step and move on. This will automatically submit this form for your student. There are some steps that are optional, but you still need to click on the link to complete them. One example is the Pay Online step. Since the Complete button is grayed out, you must first click on the link. Once the link is open, sign in following the directions on the screen to see if your student has any fines or fees and pay them here. If there are no fines or fees, or if you would prefer to pay in person at the school, you can close this window. Once the link has been opened, you can complete this step. This applies to a few other steps in the process, so remember that once you click on the link, you can continue with the process. Each school has its own list of links and optional forms that families may be interested in. Please read through this page to see if there is anything applicable to your student or your family. Some of the optional forms are linked to a form that will need to be printed out, filled out, and submitted to the school. When you are done with this step, click on the button to complete this step and move on. Once you have completed all the steps for your school, verify that each step says completed with a date and time. If you missed a step, you can go directly to it using the links on the right side of the screen. If you made any changes to your phone number or your student's emergency contacts, you can review those changes here prior to submission. When the process is complete, click on the Submit button. If you need to make any changes after you submit, you are able to go in at a later time and edit the information by clicking on Mark the Progress as Not Complete and make changes. Make sure that you submit once again after the changes have been made. Thank you for watching this online verification tutorial. If you have any further questions, please contact your student's school for assistance.